The Women's Rights Movement and the Dinner Party by Judy Chicago. First Wave Feminism. As a preface to the central concept of this video, I feel it necessary to briefly discuss First Wave Feminism, as it does prompt our interpretation of current-day women's rights. To summarize, First Wave Feminism vastly intersected with women's suffrage and civil liberties, and had the intention of gaining white, upper-middle-class women the same rights allotted to white men. This included the right to an education, the right to vote, the right to own property, the right to be recognized as independent subjects, and more. Retrospectively, when discussing the 15th Amendment, which granted black men the right to vote in February of 1870, many women during this period distinctly did not support black men winning the right to vote before they did, and by doing so, they kept the support from more quote-unquote conservative women. Furthermore, it is critical to recognize that under the title of First Wave Feminism, women of color were evidently deprived of representation. Nonetheless, they fought for the same causes alongside one another, thus winning all women the right to vote in August of 1920. Second Wave Feminism. Second Wave Feminism is widely known to be initiated by the after-effects of World War II. As a result of the draft, many women took on higher roles in the workplace during the war. When soldiers returned, women were pushed out of these roles and once again confined to domesticity. For the sake of clarity, I feel as though I should state that the employment of war veterans is very important and sadly still an evident issue today, but should never be fulfilled through the oppression of women in the workplace. Thus where the issue lies. Second Wave Feminism fought with the intention of providing women full liberation, considering its definition at the time. This was partially done through the extension of First Wave feministic goals, but majorly driven by workplace safety, domestic violence, issues of rape, and reproductive rights. Largely, the goal of addressing these issues was to alter the inferior negative view of women that had been integrated in popular culture. The rise of Second Wave Feminism was sparked by the expansion of Betty Friedan's book entitled The Feminine Mystique. Published in 1963, The Feminine Mystique obliterates Sigmund Freud's immensely over-sexualized, repugnant perception of women and theory of femininity. The evident misogyny in Freudian theory has deeply scarred the entirety of humanity, and the cut of this wound holds a pain that I would fail to convey through a summary, though I heavily advise thoroughly looking into its impacts throughout history. The following is a quote from The Feminine Mystique. The problem lay buried unspoken for many years in the minds of American women. Each suburban wife struggled with it alone. As she made the beds, shopped for groceries, matched slipcover material, ate peanut butter sandwiches with her children, chauffeured Cub Scouts and brownies, lay beside her husband at night, she was afraid to ask even of herself the silent question, is this all? Through this quote, Friedan exemplifies the experience of being a woman, being confined to a mind-numbing routine of lost intellectual stimulation, as she evidently displays the suffering of emptiness in the stereotypical role of a woman. Through The Feminine Mystique, Friedan explores the capacity of women despite their state of evolution being cut short. Betty Friedan's work influenced the rise of women's movements, such as NOW and NAACP. I want to point out again that although Second Wave Feminism made major progress in the collaboration of all women, despite race, it's still crucial to add that women of color lacked the representation that white women had. In 1979, the term womanism was coined by women of color as a form of inclusivity as opposed to the limited label of feminism. The Dinner Party by Judy Chicago. The Dinner Party is widely regarded as being the most prominent feminist work of the 20th century. Through this piece, Judy Chicago explores her agency as a woman breaking the patriarchal structure of society. I feel as though it's important to explore the full development that led to Judy Chicago's dedication to women's rights. While receiving her Master's in Fine Arts in 1964, Chicago noticed the evident lack of female representation in the art industry. During her education, Chicago focused her feminist artwork on reinterpreting a woman's body and female anatomy. Her male-dominated professors described her work as being overly sexual and vulgar, being that women had typically only been objectified and sexualized in art. Second Wave Feminism majorly focused on inserting women in male-dominated industries, thus driving Judy Chicago's emphasis on feminist art. During her studies, Chicago stated, "There were no women's studies courses, no body of feminist theory, no knowledge of women's history, nor any acknowledgement of the international impact of First Wave Feminism." Chicago could not disregard what it meant being a woman in the art industry. She felt an obligation to further highlight the absence of women throughout history. One of her prominent acts of this was when Chicago produced a series of abstract portraits of women throughout history entitled The Great Ladies. To further her emphasis on highlighting women throughout history, Judy Chicago created what is widely considered one of the best works of her career. The dinner party is Chicago's way of altering the structure of normalized patriarchal society in the past, present, and for the future. The dinner party, which now permanently resides in the Brooklyn Museum's Feminist Art section, has been seen by millions in 16 exhibitions throughout 6 countries since its creation from spring of 1974 to 1979. The dinner party is Chicago's play on Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper, which is a vastly admired historical piece featuring all men. By creating the dinner party, Judy Chicago makes a statement on the absence of women throughout history. The dinner party sits in a dim-lit room and consists of a triangular table, each side 48 feet long with 39 total place settings for the guests of honor, 13 being on each side, with a tile floor featuring 999 more women, making a total of 1,038 remarkable women throughout the history of Western civilization. The dinner party's place settings contain 39 china sculpture plates, rising just a few inches above the table. Each setting contains a beautifully extravagant china plate symbolizing the vulva. By using female anatomy to symbolize these women, Chicago allows her audience to see the female body as a glorified representation of women's power, rather than being seen as an over-sexualized objectification of women, as it typically was. By using the vulva as artistic inspiration, Judy Chicago allows viewers to imagine what it would be like if women took as much pride in their anatomy as men did. Despite being called vulgar and disgusting by well-known publications, the dinner party surpassed judgment by being considered one of, if not the best, Western feminist artwork. Chicago altered the structure of a patriarchal society to insert women that had been excluded from Western civilization. Despite the flaws that may be present in its modern interpretation, Judy Chicago's career and work on the dinner party has provided a sense of closure to a history that women have been deprived of. To conclude, this is a quote by Judy Chicago. "Because we are denied knowledge of our history, we are deprived of standing upon each other's shoulders and building upon each other's hard-earned accomplishments. Instead, we are condemned to repeat what others have done before us, and thus we continually reinvent the wheel. The goal of the dinner party is to break this cycle."